everybody, to start this beautiful little mushroom painting, I'm going to get out my masking fluid and I'm just going to paint dots all over the cap of the mushrooms randomly. The top of the cap we're going to paint in larger dots, and when you get to the bottom part of the cap we're going to use smaller dots. Before you use your masking fluid, I recommend taking your brush and use an older brush that you don't really like so much, and just rub it in a little bit of soap. I use just bar soap, and then put it in your masking fluid, and it will literally just wash off of your brush later and not stick to it. So here I am adding this smaller dot to the bottom of my mushroom cap. And just let it overlap the edges a little bit, those dots, because those dots are they're like little bumps on the mushroom. So now I'm going to close the cap tight because when I don't, I end up with a mess and I can't open up my cap. Okay. So you really want to let your masking fluid dry thoroughly before you touch it with any kind of water or paint. Otherwise you're going to rip your paper later on, or you're not going to be happy with the result. So now I'm going to mix up a green, and I'm going to mix up like a yellow ochre with some more yellow, and then I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to apply clear water all the way around my mushroom caps and the bottom and out to the edges a little bit. So here I am applying the clear with a little fatter brush that you have. Any wide brush will work, and just carefully going around your mushroom caps with clear water. And my house is a little bit dry, so it dried really fast on me. I really had to re-wet it later. But you really kind of want it really pretty wet, but not so wet where it's drippy. So if you have it very drippy, just give it a few seconds to just kind of seep into the paper, and then we're going to apply some color. I should have just done it section by section, but I wanted to wet the whole thing. Here we go. So now I'm adding some of my yellow ochre that I added a little bit more yellow to when I mixed it, and I'm carefully painting around the tops of my mushrooms. And what I'm going for is a blurred background, just like you would when you take a photograph and you have something sharp in the focal point, and then you have that blurry background in the back. So you want to keep your background pretty wet to do this. So as I'm dropping in my colors, like my yellows and my greens, I'm kind of letting them mix on the paper in the wetness of the paper. But right here you could see that even though I wet the back of my paper, my background, it is drying. So I am pretty fast. It must be, you know, it's not a humid day out, so, and it's warm, so it's drying pretty quickly. So I'm just adding a little bit more clear water around the edges so that it will just float around, and you know, it's going to be clear at the edges and, you know, more intense closer to the mushrooms. So now I'm dabbing in some like burnt umber colors and some dark browns near the bottom just to show some leaf, some ground. And I did use the side of my brush and try to make it jaggy there, and then I decided that I didn't like that so much. I'd rather have it softer. So I'm adding some more brown, and I'm just going to keep doing what I did before. I'm just going to drop in color here and there, and let it bleed on the paper and mix on the paper instead of mixing it separately. And I'll just keep adding and playing with it until I like what I've done. I'm going for an organic, natural look. So I'm dropping in some darker. I actually added a little bit of probably Payne's Gray into that brown mixture so that it's not quite black, but it's brown. And then some dark greens. And I'm trying to stay away from my phthalo blue green. It's too blue green, and just stick with the more yellow green colors. If I want to make it darker, I'll do that. Right here, I'm flicking the side of my brush up to give that grass or sticks or whatever it's living in just going into the mushroom itself. And this is really coming out really cute, and I'm really liking it. So it's very easy, and you want to enjoy yourself when you're painting with watercolors, because some people feel stressed, and it should be relaxing. And watercolor is very, you just don't know what it's going to do half the time, so you worry, but just have fun and see what it does. And every time, even if you make a mistake, you're going to learn something new. So I have lots of mistakes. I have piles of mistakes. I've been painting for 30 years and I still have piles of mistakes. So enjoy it and don't worry about it, and have fun. So I'm just going to flick my brush with different colors and try to make little, ideas or impressions of grass or something growing under these mushrooms, dirt. And when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to dry it all up with my dryer and get on to the next step. So now I'm putting on a fairly highly pigmented red, the reddest red that I have in my palette, and I'm going to be very careful about using my brush. I have a number 6 round here, and I'm carefully getting to the edges of my mushroom and just slightly adding a little bit more water so it runs without leaving any streaks. And then I'm going to just grab some of that yellow orange over there, not pure orange, but more towards the yellow side. I'm going to dab it kind of in the middle like we did earlier and just let it mix together. And maybe put a little highlight. Maybe I'll remove a little bit of the red by letting it sit there for a minute and then cleaning off my brush and then just like pulling off a teeny bit. Or I might just grab a little water and just dab it in there just to just mess up the cap a little bit so it looks more natural and organic. I am going to grab a little bit of my deeper red and add it towards the bottom parts of the cap, and then we're going to add the orangey color towards the middle where it's sticking out the most, where it would be closer to you, I guess, so it makes it look like it's more round. So now I'm just trying to add some color to the stems. I'm grabbing that yellow ochre color that I have, and it's pretty light and watery. So I made some stripes and I added some water to it just to pull it down, and hopefully there'll be some subtle stripes there. And then I'm going to go under the cap and add some color to that and some shading, and I'm going to use probably that Payne's gray that I have up there, and just keep adding in to it as it is wet, so it floats down. Now I'm not going to go into the top of the cap until this one is dry, so whenever you have something wet and you want a sharp edge, you don't want to go painting the object next to it because it's just going to float right in. So I'm just going to let that shadow kind of float down a little bit, and we'll adjust it as needed. And when this dries, we'll do the other part. So I grabbed some dark green and I'm using the tip of my brush and I'm just kind of dabbing on some little leaf shapes so there's something plant-wise growing on the ground, and they'd probably be very tiny plants. And I'm going to add some, when I'm done with these, I'm going to probably add a little bit of white gouache to the yellow and make a light yellow color and just add some little yellow teeny flowers that you see growing in your grass, or just they're very tiny. So just to give it a little pop of color and a little bit more interest. So with your clean fingertips and after your painting is completely dry, you want to just rub off the masking fluid. I use a eraser that I have. You can get it in any art store. They use it for drafting years ago, and it's a rubber eraser and it'll pick it right up for you. But if you don't have it, you can just use your fingers. And after we're done removing this, we're going to add shadows under those little white dots that are all over the mushroom cap. We're just going to take a little bit of the Payne's Gray, maybe mix a teeny bit of the red in it, and just very carefully with your tip of your brush, just go in there and make a little smiley face under each one of those little dots. you so much for watching my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe and also hit that little bell so that you'll be notified for any new video that I post. Until then, be well, and I'll see you soon.